Welcome in, everyone. Dom Giordano's show. It seems to be bubbling up today that President Trump is going to be indicted over the documents at Mar-a-Lago. Okay, O'Reilly just put that up. Several people have it up. And that you may see Trump issue a statement knowing that. We'll bring it to you if that happens. Could happen at any time now that he is apparently aware of that. And again, all these, particularly when you have an FBI that has been weaponized, they can't get out from under their reputation. Somebody on the inside of this joins us. We had a great conversation with him. He has a new book coming out on June 13th. So that's a week from today. My journey from beat cop to suspended FBI whistleblower. Joining us is Special Agent Stephen Friend again on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Steve, welcome back to Philadelphia. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me again.
A quick update. Made quite an impression on us. Since you've testified now, it's been a little while. What's your life been like, upside, downside of that?
In the immediate aftermath, there was definitely a lot of surge of support, which was great. It just been sort of felt like I was shouting into a void for a number of months. Our biggest thing as a group, we call ourselves the Suspendables. That's the name of our little cadre of people that have come forward. And we did it I invented it on a lark, thinking maybe we were going to have to be mercenaries one day and rip off some Sylvester Stallone movies. But then Alan Fiore of the New York Times caught wind of that and put it in the newspaper record. So we've just kind of taken it. And we were really worried about Garrett O'Boyle and Marcus Allen, who were on either side of me at the hearing. Garrett had been unpaid, suspended, still is indefinitely suspended, unpaid since last September. And Marcus coming in almost a year and a half had not received a paycheck.
Wow.
So we'd established a give, send, go for them, and we're able to make them whole within a week, just due to small donations. I mean, thousands upon thousands of small donations from people. And at the very least, if nothing else comes of that, the fact that we were able to help those two gentlemen for the sacrifices they made, I think was worth it.
Absolutely. So when we see this tactic by Christopher Wray now, give me your thoughts. The Republican and Democrats see it. The idea that he doesn't have congressional oversight, he doesn't have to answer to show this. And what we've heard so far, apparently, at least Republicans saying this, Stephen, there's a lot of shell corporations that are set up. And look, that's not direct evidence you did something wrong. But my God, Joe Biden and shell corporations setting him up, it leads us to believe there should be a lot of scrutiny of this. The American people have a right to see this. Redact what you have to.
I agree with you. I mean, I think we have to dispel from this veil that the Christopher Wray and the FBI just uses to get out of jail free every single time, where they say that's an ongoing investigation, we can't comment on it, or we have to protect our sources and methods. The Congress legally has oversight authority of the FBI. This is a balance of power issue. The FBI cannot continue to lean on that excuse. And I give them grace maybe a few years ago, but now that they've been proven to be this woke and weaponized apparatchik, I think that has to be go the way of the dodo bird here, and there needs to be a tremendous amount of scrutiny. Just looking at that source report, the timing of it being the summer during the presidential election, the fact that it was buried in this source report and no indication that there was any sort of assessment or preliminary investigation that went on. I think it needs scrutiny because, look, if they actually did some work and then found out that the information was no good, okay, that exonerates President Joe Biden. And it should make all that source's information going forward certainly suspect. But if it was good information, then there's no reason why that can't be shared with the American people. We are certainly entitled to know that about our elected representatives.
Yeah, and I think you and I would agree. We want certitude before anybody goes public, because getting your good name back and dealing with all that very difficult. But there's also intelligence committees and others set up to assess this stuff, and you can redact what you have to that you really are not 100% on. How does the FBI, in your view, and I don't know if you talk about it in your book, get its reputation back? That's going to take a while. Is it breaking it down into smaller units? Would that take some of the weaponization away?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different avenues you could go to if you wanted to reform or even just do away with the FBI and come out with a different rethink the way we're going to do federal law enforcement. I think it's a 6 to 1, half dozen the other situation, but briefly as I can, we could defang the FBI, take away all of its 1811 criminal investigators. If you take away all the guns from the FBI and leave it to its technological innovations and maybe some tactical intelligence component, let it be the MI5 of the United States of America, and that takes away its ability to enforce any sort of laws and make recommendations over to the U.S. Marshal Service or local law enforcement, and then and partner with that with the task force officer. So the FBI currently deputizes lots of local detectives from sheriff's departments and police offices, and gives them federal arrest authority to assist the FBI, because there's only 14,000 agents. Less than half of them actually worked criminal cases. So it's impossible to police nationally without the assistance of locals. And if were we to expand that effort, you would have in a situation where a sheriff could send his best detectives and they could investigate local crimes and then take them federal if that was available to them. And they could really know what the problems were in their local community and enforce it, as opposed to just handling directives from Washington, D.C., who are trying to hit numbers so they can get their budget for next year.
Probably the most curious thing, and again, in your book, we'd love to have you back once the book comes out and people can pre-order right now. True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower. You're a younger guy, but I mean, you're probably aware. I happen to see that Daniel Ellison Ellsberg is 92, and there's a piece out about him today because he has terminal pancreatic cancer. And I was thinking about back in the day, the FBI, people on the left were scared to death of how they were being used. The argument was to undermine what they were trying to do around the Vietnam War and the like. Any sense of what happened inside? Is it just Trump related that they became the arm of the Democrat Party over the last number of years?
I think that there's certainly the mask has come off to a greater extent, but there's definitely a case to be made that the FBI has always been an extra constitutional organization. Essentially, they established it and then backdated legislation to establish it legally. And instead of actually preserving the Constitution, which is on paper what its charter is to do, I think the FBI was probably just always about preserving status quo. So when the bad guys of the perceived status quo were communists, the FBI went after communists. When the problems were we have draft dodgers, the FBI went after draft dodgers. And now, as the mission creeps come home September 11th, and the foreign terrorist threat has been stomped down by our military, and they've done a fantastic job of doing that, the FBI is still has to justify its existence as a self-licking ice cream cone, and it's preserving the status quo of our ruling elite, and our ruling elite tend to fall on the left side of the aisle, significantly so. So they perceive anybody who has a traditionally conservative outlook, pro-traditional marriage, pro-life, pro-border security, as being enemies of the people, and they are going to use all the levers of power to pursue their political enemies. And the FBI is all too happy to do that because it results in the new headquarters that they're slotted to get, which is going to be a $3.5 billion facility.
My God, yeah,
and record budgets. So I think
that is a really insightful answer, because I can't think the average person in the FBI, even moving up the ranks, is in agreement going after Catholics that go to a Latin mass. But your point about, well, they go where the status quo is, and that's what they're going to push because that helps them to get ahead. That whether they agree with it or not, it helps to weaponize it. Does Trump, though, set off for some of these? It seems to me with Comey, with why am I blanking on the guy's name? The smug FBI special agent, all-timer, people like that Trump particularly seems to set them off.
Oh, yes, without question. I mean, and as you climb the management ranks in the FBI,
it's Strzok, yeah.
Yeah, Peter Strzok, yeah, Andy McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, the whole shebang. And as you climb that ladder, it's sort of self-selecting left-wing individuals, because in order to promote, you have to be willing to start a new initiative. And right-leaning people tend to say, well, where's the waste and the fraud and the abuse, and let's just work cases. And the left-leaning people think, well, I'm gonna start I'm gonna invent a solution to a problem, and then I'll look for the problem to apply it to.
Well
I've,
put.
I've used the comparison to the movie Jurassic World, where they want to use velociraptors to chase after terrorists. It briefs really well. You put that on a PowerPoint and you get promoted off that. You don't need a drone strike. You don't need SEAL Team 6. You're going to send velociraptors. And that's the mentality of too many people in the FBI. And then that's definitely a left-leaning persuasion.
Well, I can hardly wait till the book is out. Just 1 week away. True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower. Do you have any big TV interviews set up? Where's your first interview?
I've been making the rounds as much as I can, especially with the latest problems with the FBI has, which seems to be almost daily occurrence. But right now, I'm on my schedule here. I'm going to be at the Georgia GOP convention later this week, speaking, and I believe President Trump's going to be there as well. So that'll be live in person. Nothing on the horizon. I did Russell Brand earlier today, and you can catch that
wait a minute! You got to tell me now. What was it like doing the Russell Brand show? Wow.
Well, I was really worried that he was going to be more Oliver Twist than Downton Abbey. I was worried about cutting through that accent. But Russell was great. He had me and Garrett O'Boyle on to talk about our trials and tribulations. So if that's worth it, it's a great conversation.
Dan, my producer has a question.
I'm a producer here, and I've always wondered: is there a name out there that you went into the interview kind of nervous and you left it saying, "Man, that was awesome"? Was Russell one of those people that you're like, you don't really know what to expect, and then afterwards you're like, "Oh, that was awesome"? Or is there another name that you can think of?
Yeah, that one was. I actually have a personal story that I wanted to tell him, and I didn't get a chance to do it. My brother and sister have Russell Brand tattoos on their torsos. Unfortunately, it was, I guess fortunately, we were talking about serious issues, but I actually had pics, so I wanted to be able to share them with him. And I emailed him afterwards, and maybe he'll have me again.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
we'll have you back. People can pre-order right now. True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower. Congratulations on the book. Hopefully we can talk very soon again.
Thanks, fellas. Have a great one.